again to the GPP 2020 webinar. On market engagement, sounding and analysis. My name is Philipp Tepper and I'm coordinating the GPP 2020 project. GPP 2020, with the slogan Procurement for a Low Carbon Economy, aims to mainstream low carbon public procurement across Europe in support of the European Commission's goals to achieve 20% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and a 20% increase in the share of renewable energy and a 20% increase in energy efficiency by 2020. We have a consortium of 18 partners, of which many of them are purchasing organizations, such as BBG, purchasing body on the federal state level of Austria, or CONCEP on the state level also in Italy, or a province of Rome here on a regional level, or OSDSIM in Portugal, just to name a few. We work together with those purchasing borders and our national support partners in each of the countries to simply do GPP 2020. We aim for having more than 100 GPP tenders for energy-related products, services, and works carried out throughout the project time, that is 3 years. It started last year in May. We aim to reach investments of 3,500 million euro and CO2 savings close to 1 million tons of CO2. So you can see from those numbers also we are aiming of having a huge impact on the market with framework contracts, with purchases normally with several million euro. We also have a strong component on training and capacity building. We'll do 13 train-the-trainer seminars and 36 training seminars for procurers throughout the project time. We develop also training materials there that can also be seen at our webpage. And last but not least, very important aspect of GPP 2020 is helping to set up permanent GPP support functions. For instance, help desks in the 8 countries we are working. That's basically GPP 2020 in a nutshell. You can find more information about GPP 2020 on gpp2020.eu. As part of our capacity building activities, we run those webinars. And today's one is on market engagement. And the agenda of today is as follows. I will give a short overview about what has been developed and done in the SMART SPP project on innovation and public procurement that focused also on early market engagement. And then our keynote speaker is Gaynor Whyles from JERA Consulting. Thanks, Gaynor, that you made it today to market engagement for low carbon solutions, experience and learning from public procurement of innovation projects. And then the most important part comes the discussion, how is market engagement, market sounding, market analysis working in your countries. So just to start, SMART SPP are focused on innovative approaches also to public procurement, particularly in the pre-procurement phase, so the phase before you actually go out for tendering. And there we started thinking that public authorities can meet their procurement needs in innovative ways by taking a flexible outcome-based approach. Basically, that is one of the key aspects when talking about market engagement or green public procurement. In general, you have to think out the box. For example, a public authority may need to purchase a new lighting system, just to give you an example. And due to political targets, you have certain CO2 reduction to meet. And pre-procurement dialogues with technology suppliers and developers will help to determine if the market is able or when it will be able to offer you solutions to achieve this. So first of all, when talking about market engagement, you also need to analyze for yourself your needs, knowing them as a real asset. So in preparation of GPP tender, that is ambitious in terms of low carbon solutions, you have to take a look into the energy and efficiency and CO2 emission performance that you currently have, and what performance do you wish to achieve. So for instance, you need to know what your current lighting system is about and what type of levels of CO2 reduction, for instance, you are obliged to do from political level, and that should be then copied into your public procurement activities. And most important, how to assess potential solutions that exist on the market or that are near market readiness. It's a lot about getting the knowledge into the preparation of tenders, what the market can deliver. Of course, you need to ask yourself the question, what are the main market actors? Just the regular suppliers, or are there more other suppliers you haven't seen before that might supply also different solutions to your needs? One thing is clear. Normally, this cannot be done by one person alone, public procurer. So you have to involve all relevant personnel in your organization that helps you support to gain those market knowledge. We'll take a close look into how this could be done in a second. And also, when looking into more new solutions, you might not want to be so technically prescriptive. So you might need to look more into functional requirements, requirements that base on your needs but do not prescribe a certain technology. This offers you then, by using an approach like this, much more possibilities at a later stage. And it's also about speaking the same language of the market. I know that Gaynor will look into this more in detail later, so I won't talk too much about this. So you have identified your needs. You, for instance, need new IT systems, computers, and so you want to carry out some initial market research on this. So basic things do happen. So familiarize yourself with potential solutions. For instance, do I need desktop PCs, or do I need notebooks? Or what about a thin client solution? What is the setup, and what could be potential implications when we're talking about low carbon solutions? And you might also want to identify key market actors, such as business associations or other key suppliers. We're talking outside of the tendering procedure, to scope a bit what is currently available there. And you might find out that the technologies such as thin clients have developed over the past 6 months rapidly, and you were not aware of this, for instance. At this stage, this research is not intended to define the bidding documents. It's quite important, but to identify the range of possible solutions that the market can offer, without deciding for one in particular. You can use, of course, company brochures, websites, or pick up the telephone. You can search in patent databases or advise patent experts when looking into more innovative solutions. Participate in trade fairs, showrooms, or just support trade associations, other networks that provide you also information on market trends. When done this, you engage basically with the market as a step one, informing the market, and to give the market also sufficient warning to respond to your future demands and to identify company contacts for later market consultation actions. So again, you ask yourself the question, are the relevant market actors aware of your intentions? Have you raised sufficient interest also in your upcoming tender? And it's quite a critical phase here to really make sure you communicate your requirements and performance targets as clearly as possible. Also, give companies sufficient time to respond to your needs. The more advanced warning the market is, the better the result. And also do not forget the smaller companies, SMEs, and those beyond your regular suppliers, using, again, networks, business associations, or trade unions. Okay, that's in theory, but how did SMART SPP partners do this in the past? SPU is the Eastern Choice Purchasing Organization, published on behalf of all project partners a PIN, a prior information notice, the official journal of the European Union. That was in April 2009, and we asked companies to express interest in upcoming tenders for LEDs, electric vehicles, innovative heating and cooling systems. Over 60 companies expressed an interest, and were invited to participate in the subsequent market dialogue meetings that took place at different locations across Europe. In Barcelona, for instance, another example, they participated in the National Movell project on electric mobility, and together with two other large Spanish cities, Madrid and Sevilla, and their commitments to installing electric vehicle charging points, they raised the interest of mainstream media, and they were also that reach other companies, and they should have didn't think about before. And now comes a critical phase, an interesting phase, and I don't have the time to go into much detail about this in terms of legal requirements, but you can all read this up in the SMART SPP guidance available on the website, smart-spp.eu. Engaging with the market to assess the potential solution which may be available on the market to meet the defined requirements. So your key questions are there any new innovative technology solutions, processes, or contractual arrangements for the particular requirements you have? If you're talking about more innovative and not state-of-the-art products, how near to market readiness are those new developments? Is there information on the likely cost or comparison of costs for old solutions, maybe not so low carbon? Do you have sufficient information on other environmental effects also? And again, here is a cross-check. Are our performance-based specification understandable? Our needs clearly formulated to the market? And what indicators, norms, calculation methods, testing procedures, labels, whatever, are there when drawing up technical tender documentation? These are questions you ask yourself. You can engage them directly in this pre-procurement with the right companies. Try to ensure the technical people as well as sales representatives participate in the consultation. So I would like to say not only the salesperson, but also those that know about the technical background of the solution. Set information from the market also cautiously and seek additional third-party verified information. And make sure that you have technical expertise at your disposal. So within your public authority or with arrangement with other support bodies. How have SMART SPP partners done this? 3 examples. One from Barcelona. There is a supply seminar was held for electric vehicle charging points tender. 32 companies attended, and they were invited to complete an anonymous questionnaire indicating whether the currently defined performance specification of the city could be met. These responses were analyzed, and subsequently also the technical specification section was amended, adapted, and so it was quite good for also the market to know what is happening, and also the city to know what can be delivered by the market. In calling to supply ceremonies were held for the LED office lighting tender, and first to inform the companies of the city's intentions, or something like a pin on a local level was in form of a seminar. And the second one to discuss the requirements, technical specifications in more detail. These seminars highlighted the need to include a pilot stage to the contract. So basically, before tendering out for larger amounts, went out with a smaller amount. And also we're using this to select the best technologically solution available on the market. In this case, they did another approach, also about LED lighting, this time outdoor street lighting. The two-stage process was used. An initial seminar open to both suppliers and other public authorities about the intention requirements. Following this, 11 one-to-one meetings were held, about 2 hours each, with potential LED suppliers, and to discuss the products available and in a safe environment. And yeah, and basically they were also sent an outline of the criteria developed and were asked to validate the criteria. During the meeting, suppliers questioned some of the criteria, and therefore both sides got, again, a better understanding of what it could be demanded and what could be delivered. And therefore also the tender specification was more clear to the market. That was a quick overview into SMART SPP experiences. If you want to read more, just read the complete case studies and guidance available at smart-spp.eu. And that's also the end of the first part. Please just note down your questions. We can come back to them later in the discussion. I would like to hand over now to Gaynor Whyles from JERA Consulting, talking about market engagement for low carbon solutions, experience and learning from PPI projects. So Gaynor, you will get now presentation rights, and you can share the presentation with us. Gaynor, are you there?
I'm getting there. Here we go. Okay.
Wonderful.
You can see that?
Yeah, perfect.
Well, first of all, thanks very much for the invitation and for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm speaking about market engagement, not in the context of sustainable procurement, but specifically in the context of innovation procurement. So it's the experience and learning that we've got from our public procurement of innovation projects. Now, we've had over the years a number of those. Hang on. So I'm trying to move to the next slide. Philip, but it's not working. There we go. There we go.
Dude,
okay,
it's working.
That's fine. So a number of projects over the course of the last year, UK and European projects, all of which address the need for innovation for low carbon solutions that are affordable and suitable and appropriate for the customers. Okay. And we began looking at innovation procurement actually in 2005 in the UK. And through the number of years that we've been working, and it's quite a shocking number of years that I've been working in this area now, looking back, we've learned an awful lot along the way. Innovation procurement was quite new, in fact very new when we started it. And we've run through a number of projects in the UK and in Europe. And not just actually looking at transferring innovation procurement methods into places like Poland and working with the Netherlands. And now we're also have in our latest project working with Hungary and Italy. Okay, so the number of projects that we've had have all involved to some extent looking at carbon and low carbon procurement. And just to give you some examples, that's not doing very well at the minute. There we go. just to give you some examples, at one of the first projects was a zero waste mattress for the prison services, and that led to not only an eliminating waste to landfill of 40,000 foam mattresses every year, but also led to cost savings of €5 million over the course of the contract. Most recently, we've completed a project with Erasmus Medical Centre in Rotterdam. They needed a sustainable bed washing facility. They needed to ensure that they had clean beds, and they needed to wash 70,000 clean beds in their hospital every year. And they've achieved, through the innovation procurement approach, a 35% reduction in total cost of ownership and a reduction in CO2 from the previous solution of 63%. So it's really encouraging to feel real impact. So when we're talking about carbon, we're talking not just about operational carbon, but actually about embedded carbon. Okay. So there's a what I call a catch-22 that hinders the commercialization of low carbon technologies. Mitigating climate change requires new goods and services, we know that. They're not always commercially available, and if they're not commercially available, they're only available at excessive cost, so they're too expensive, or they might actually not be quite the right thing that the customer needs. So if they're not available, the customers don't tend to ask for them, and because there's no demand, companies who try to innovate don't have grounds for new investments. So we have what we call the buyer-supplier paradox. Nobody asks for what they actually need, and so suppliers don't supply it. And I think this is probably a very familiar situation for some people, and probably not people around this seminar, but very often public procurement involves a distinct lack of communication with the market, and I've never really quite understood why that is the case. Many people have said to me that they didn't think they were allowed to talk to the market, that the regulations didn't allow them to engage with suppliers, which isn't the case. They just need to make sure that they're engaging in a way that maintains a level playing field, and that they're making sure that everybody has equal access to information. And that isn't difficult. That isn't quite hard. So we need to demonstrate that we've got a demand, and we need to explain to suppliers that that demand is there, and show that we're committed to actually buying a low carbon solution. We need to demonstrate there's a credible demand. I think that's the key thing. We need to start asking for low carbon technology and start breaking down the barriers, which is what market engagement is all about. Suppliers respond to what customers want. But if customers continue to buy what is available, rather than being more ambitious, asking for progressive improvements, they actually stifle innovation. And all you'll get is perhaps a slightly more efficient lamp, rather than the real step changes that we need to get to our 2020 targets. So successful market engagement needs you to know, as Philip was saying, know what outcomes you need. It's a fundamental of market engagement that you have an accurate understanding of the outcomes that you want to deliver, and also to be able to convince the market that you're serious about delivering those, about buying something different. Suppliers have had bad experiences where very often the public sector has asked for an energy efficient printer, for example. This is a specific example from Hewlett Packard. And then Hewlett Packard invested to deliver a more energy efficient printer, and the public sector didn't buy it because it didn't understand how to calculate the cost on a whole life cycle basis. Okay, so it said, oh, it's too expensive. Now, although that was many years ago, sadly, I think that the not using total cost of ownership is quite common. So, if you can convince the supply chain that you're serious, you've got a good chance that they'll listen. but they have to have an accurate understanding of your needs, and they need an incentive to innovate. And that means that you need to think very carefully about what you want and to make sure that that need and commitment to achieving those outcomes is within the organisation. It's embedded within the organisation, okay? And also, I would say it has to be done in the context of a specific procurement rather than a general requirement, okay? Advanced information is critical, and the more advanced information you can give suppliers, the better. And that means not thinking in terms of necessarily one procurement cycle, but many procurement cycles. So if you're particularly thinking about transport, rather than thinking about our next procurement, you need to be explaining to the market where you want to go over 10 or 15 years. Where are you heading to? And what progressive improvements do you want to deliver over that time? Now, the methodology that we use for innovation procurement is called Forward Commitment Procurement, which was pioneered in the UK. And we've been adapting the theory behind innovation procurement and the methodology to see if it works in different countries. And it seems to be working quite well. As you can see, market engagement is at the heart of the process. But the first stage, identification and building commitment within the organisation, is really important. Okay, so forward commitment procurement was critically developed with suppliers in mind. It involved thinking about how suppliers operate, understanding how they think and what motivates them to deliver innovative solutions. We also worked closely with the legal framework, and we were clear that we just had to work with market engagement and the other processes in the context of what the regulations allowed us to do. And to be honest, we never really encountered that much of a problem with the regulations as they have been today. Forward commitment procurement has taken a lot of its learning from the approach of the private sector, the supply chain manager. Very simply, if the private sector doesn't let its suppliers know where it's going in the future, then it won't be able to deliver its own projects, its own products into a future market. And a very good example of that is the automotive industry, where, in a way, the suppliers, for example, to Nissan or to Ford or to other companies, probably know more about those companies' future plans than many of the people that work within those organisations, because they've got to be developing the technologies, for example, fuel cell technologies, that we will be needing in years to come. And unless the supply chain is aware of what those needs are and has a good promise within competition of future sales, it can't justify investment to deliver and change its product range. So what we did with forward commitment procurement, I'll just go through this quickly, is we took all the best practice of innovation procurement. There was a lot of documentation around that tells you how to do innovation procurement, but it can appear quite complex. So what we wanted to do with forward commitment procurement is integrate it into the process and a method that people could follow. And the way in which it's designed is to enable both customers and suppliers to manage the risk of innovation by using a step-by-step approach. Basically, if you go through this step-by-step, at each point you can say, actually, no, this isn't working, there isn't a sufficient commitment in the organisation, or there isn't sufficient capacity and capability in the market. The market engagement is a critically important part of the forward commitment procurement process. And so what I'm going to do is just take you through the process that we use. We just very quickly, we start off with market sounding, and that market sounding is usually done on the basis of a questionnaire, so it's actually done in writing. We then look and review that, the market response. We let the supply chain know the kind of response we've had in a briefing paper, which is circulated ahead of a market consultation workshop where we invite a cross-section of suppliers to come and hear more and to go deeper into the requirements. So imagining that you've done all the hard work to get to the point of knowing what you need, your time has come to tell the supply chain. And the supply chain has one thought in its mind when it hears what customers need. Is it worth me investing in this? And so everything that you do through the market engagement process has to convince the market that you are serious and credible customers. Okay. So market sounding, the first step. Key thing, start very early. Start as early as you can. Once you've completed your contract for your latest waste contract or whatever, or transport contract, instead of just sighing with relief and putting it in a drawer, imagine that now is the time to start planning the supply chain where you're going next. Okay, so starting years, not months in advance. And I would say ideally, if you're talking about stimulating innovation, let the supply chain know where you want to be in 5 years' time. Let them know your direction of travel so they can prepare and deliver the solutions that you need. What we use, the tool that we use for market sounding is called a market sounding prospectus, which sets out, if you like, the complete story of the situation that you're in and how you want it to change. And this is a very important document. First of all, it forces you to get very clear yourself where you want to go, and it gives you a way of communicating to the market that makes you look like you've really thought about this and that you've taken it seriously. So here's an example of a market sounding prospectus. This is working with the Nottingham University Hospitals Trust in the UK, who wanted an integrated ultra-low carbon energy solution. And then another project that is currently going through competitive dialogue, people-centred low carbon catering for another hospital in the UK, and a low carbon vending solution for the University of Sheffield and Johnson Matthey Fuel Cells. And this is in the context of an ICLEI-led project called InnoCat. So my question is, what is the common thing with all these market sounding prospecti? Okay, so let's go through them again. And what I wanted to do is to draw your attention to the title. In every single one of those market sounding prospectuses, you've got low carbon in the title. And I think this is critical. Suppliers are very simple. If you tell them this is what you want, they know that solutions that aren't low carbon need not apply for this procurement. And it sets out an immediate and very strong message. It's keeping carbon right up front. So what we would then recommend is that you launch this market sounding prospectus and market sounding through a prior information notice. Again, it makes it look serious. It makes it look like you mean it. And what we would do is use a market sounding response form, asking key questions to the market. I'd keep it reasonably short. And that gives you a useful framework for getting your response. And just to prove that we do prior information notices, here's an example of the vending project that came out recently. We would then see what we get back. Now, I would always allow about 3 months for market sounding because you need time to communicate. There's no point relying on the prior information notice alone. You actually have to proactively communicate to the market. Okay, and I would use intermediaries as well as going directly to companies, trade organisations, using the press. We use the press very effectively in the Netherlands with the Erasmus Medical Centre project. The other thing is when you get the responses, I think it's very useful to put together a directory of all the people that responded and publish that. So other suppliers can see who's responded. And also it can enable and facilitate cross-supply chain fertilization of ideas. Okay. The key thing about market engagement, of course, is that you're not evaluating suppliers or solutions. You're analysing the state of the market. You're looking at the capacity, capability and appetite of the supply chain to respond. Now, if I would say one of the weaknesses of a number of the projects that we had early on is that we would often do a market sounding exercise and we'd go very quiet and we'd fail to let the market know what was going on. And so having a web page available where you keep it up to date and keep suppliers in the loop is very important. Market consultation workshops. People are surprised how well these work. They can't imagine that you're going to bring a whole load of suppliers together and get them to work on your particular problem and to discuss some of the issues and barriers, for example, to bringing low carbon and innovative solutions to the market. But they really work well. Even though these people are in competition, actually they're all very interested in the subjects that they have and they don't get a chance to have this kind of dialogue. And you're doing it in a neutral environment. You're not asking them about competitive issues. You're asking them, again, to respond not as suppliers, but as a supply chain. Here's a few more pictures of a market meeting there at the Erasmus Medical Centre in Rotterdam. And people respond very positively to it, not just the suppliers, but it's very encouraging for the customers to see the response of the market. So, market engagement. It gives the supply chain advance notice of a future procurement. And I would like to just repeat again that doing a market sounding in general is not helpful, but doing it in the context of a specific procurement in a specific time frame and the direction of travel is very useful. Create a framework for feedback on the requirement and get an understanding through the market sounding, not just of what's available, but any potential barriers that the supply chain perceives. By the end of the market sounding process, you should have a good sense of whether suppliers are interested in this procurement and also have an understanding of the level of capacity and capability and the options available to you. But how do you let the supply chain know? The communication is always the bit that people are surprised how much effort that takes. Because if you're going to put a lot of work into identifying a requirement, putting together a market sounding prospectus, issuing a PIN, you need to spend time being proactive in the way you communicate. Okay, the PIN is a useful catch-all to make sure that you're covering all European markets, for example, but it's not enough in itself. You also need to make sure that you've got people who are already supplying to you at this particular project or in this particular sector. Let them know and encourage them to respond. The response that we've had from suppliers to the market engagement activities that we have undertaken has been very, very positive in the whole. Somebody actually said to me, this is like gold dust to a supplier. We never get a chance to hear what customers need. And if we don't know what customers need, how can we respond? So I just want to go through the key points. Communicate proactively. Critically, use outcome-based requirements. So don't specify the product you want, but use outcome-based requirements. Keep carbon right up front in the title. It's not an as well as. Okay. Start early. And know that everything you do needs to convince the supply chain of your credibility and commitment as a customer. Use the market sounding prospectus to get clarity for yourself, but it's a very useful vehicle for communicating to the market and making you look serious. The PIN, as well as being a useful catch-all, adds credibility. And I would also say, where you can demonstrate that there's a wider demand for what you're asking for. In the example of the low carbon vending solution, we have not just one university, but we have 6 universities and colleges also engaged. They are following, if you like, and we've got their logos in the market sounding prospectus. The new standard is being set by the University of Sheffield. They are taking the initiative, but they're already bringing other universities with them who are saying, yeah, if there was a low carbon vending service available that met our requirements and was had a whole life cost that was in parallel to a normal solution, of course we would favour that solution. And that's a useful message to give to the supply chain. Engage in the context of a real procurement and ask for ongoing improvement. So don't just ask in context of one procurement. If you can, tell them where you're going in the future and where you want to get to, so that they can invest to bring ever lower carbon solutions available. And don't think in terms of just operation, but also about embedded carbon over the life of the contract. So I hope that's been a quick but useful insight into the market sounding that we've undertaken and the results we've had. If you want more information, this is a useful document and it's available on the EcoQuick website. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you, Gaynor, for this very comprehensive and very interesting insight into market engagement. And I'm pretty sure that you raised now a couple of questions. So I would like now changing the mode of this webinar from one person talking to the others to a more engaging type of format, so actual webinar. And for this reason, I will go back first of all to my slideshow. And where we are, there we are. So we just heard about the experiences from Gaynor. Now we come now to the discussion. And what normally then happens, or should happen now in a second, is that you all join the panel. So welcome on the panel. You see now each other's names directly on the list of the WebEx management tool. Yeah, basically next to your name you have a microphone button where you can unmute or mute yourself when you want to speak up and discuss something. I would like to start asking you the first question. Do you have questions to Gaynor or myself?
Philipp, this is Aure from the Green Institute. I would have a question to Gaynor.
Yes,
yeah.
Please.
Yeah, my question is your experiences in market engagement. In which countries have they been? Because I think what you mentioned, that the companies are very willing to participate, this has to do a lot with this kind of a collaborative culture in different countries. So I just was wondering, where have you conducted these workshops and exercises where they all come together?
Actually the workshops themselves. The workshops have been held in the UK and the Netherlands. In Poland, they took a different approach. I think they probably agreed with you that in the first instance they would use instead technical dialogue. They felt they didn't have the confidence to bring them together. I think as we go forward, that might change, but it's specifically been UK and the Netherlands. Oh, although I have to say, also add to that Norway, but that was a more general market engagement discussion rather than around a specific procurement.
Okay, thanks a lot, Gaynor. Did this answer your question, Auro? Okay, I haven't heard anything, but I've seen you've unmuted yourself, Auro. Okay, seems to be okay. I would also have a question to Gaynor, actually. One of the things I always experience that not only when talking with markets or procurers, they simply do not talk the same language. I do not mean that they are not able to speak English or German or whatever, but that one is talking about the terms used in procurement, and the other one the terms used in selling products. But from your experience, what is basically the key lesson learned to make them speak the same language?
I would turn that around, actually. I would say that the customer needs to understand the supplier perspective.
Okay.
Okay. So more that the customer is obviously very caught up in its own environment. But I think in order to engage successfully with suppliers, you have to start thinking about how they see things. Okay, so this market engagement is for your benefit in order to persuade the supply chain that you are a credible customer who wants to buy low carbon. But they do, so you have to try to, as best you can, think about it from their point of view. And I think with each supply chain, it's different.
Yes.
So there are supply chains who are very progressive and who will understand this kind of opportunity. And there are other supply chains who are more difficult to engage with. And I would probably because I'm in it at the moment, I would include the vending sector, the catering sector, and the waste sector. And the things that characterize those sectors is that they are low margin supply chains. Okay.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I think you need to understand your supply chain. Try and understand just the best you can. But imagine from their point of view how you would feel if a customer, how a customer should approach you. And it's not about driving down costs. They've got to try and understand this. But also, they've never seen this before. This is very new market engagement in the public sector. And so that they can be a little bit suspicious of it. And the only thing you can do, and I spend a lot of time doing this, is on enrollment, is that when you're doing the communication, you have to present it in the terms that they can understand as an opportunity. But at the end of the day, you can't make people see an opportunity. However, you know, we consistently have between 40 and 60 responses to market sounding. And we've always had something between 25 and, in one occasion, 125 suppliers at these workshops.
Wow. That corresponds quite well also to experience that we made in SMART SPP. So in Barcelona, we attracted also 30, in Portugal 60. So the interest is there.
you've got to do, all you can do is the best you can. And that's why I think the sharing experience is really important. I think also if you have people that you know in the supply chain, for example, we've been talking to the Vending Association, and to actually say, look, will you take a look at this market sounding document before we circulate it? You know, are they going to understand this?
Yeah.
And we checked our our website text with them, and they helped us to change it.
Yeah, lovely. So that's basically let them.
So there's some very practical things to do. The communication, this is all about communication. Yeah. But a sensible procurer will understand the supplier's perspective, and a sensible supplier will try and do its best to understand that the customer is trying its best to communicate something to them, which if they listened might actually help them win business. Because the only reasons a supplier will engage is if he thinks this is an opportunity to widen his market, or that if he doesn't engage, he will lose his market.
Sounds reasonable. Thanks, Gaynor, for these explanations. To all of you, are there further questions? Alenka. I cannot hear anybody.
I would have one if Alenka is not speaking. My question is because we supported Barcelona when they did within the SMART SPP the kind of a workshop seminar with the suppliers, that it was more well, we are thinking these kind of ideas, how do you evaluate, but it wasn't really a workshop format. It was more a kind of a presentation, information, and then gather feedback through the questionnaire that we delivered directly during the presentation. And my question is, when you organize the workshops, because you are not specifying or you are not discussing about the specific solutions, but it's more an open platform, which kind of questions do you ask?
I need some examples, don't I? What we would do is, by doing the questionnaire before, that gives us a sense of how the supply chain is responding. What we would then do with that response is prepare a briefing document ahead of the workshop that said, we asked you these questions, this is the response we've had, and now we'd like to ask you these further questions. And we would like you to think about these questions before you come to the workshop, because we'll be putting you in small groups to workshop some answers and feedback. One example, actually, is when I was doing the ultra-efficient lighting project with Rotherham Hospital, we were using the Department of Health guidance on how you measure energy efficiency of lighting and how you measure lighting levels. As a result of, so that was we were setting the standard, if you like, within the specification. This is how we want to measure. When we evaluate, we want to use this measure. They came back and said the supply chain as a whole, there wasn't one person who disagreed. They all came back and said, don't use that method. This is why you shouldn't use this method. This is the method you should be using to look at lighting. Okay. Mm-hmm. We know that that's what's in the guidance, and we think that's wrong, and these are the reasons. And they all agreed on that. And this was a group of like 65 suppliers. So that's just one example. The other question is that very often they come back and explain why or what the barriers are to investment, for example, in low carbon. Mm-hmm. And so you can say, well, these are the different barriers. Okay, we'd like to talk to you about that you said. Now we'd now like to have you all think about how these barriers could be overcome. So that was another example of something we discussed in the workshop. We've used different formats, and we've used some very creative ways of getting people to communicate. We've been, using post-it notes to get people to put up ideas of where carbon is in the catering supply chain, and where they think the big carbon is, where the small carbon is, just to get them thinking in terms not just of operational carbon, which is their automatic thing, is, oh, it's about energy efficiency. Well, it's not. It's a lot more than that. It's about embodied carbon. So that changed the way they thought. So that was another function of the workshop, is that they hadn't previously thought about embodied carbon. So just 2 examples there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gaynor. We try again with Alenka. Alenka, can you try again? We cannot hear you, Alenka. If you want to post your question on the chat, I will bring it forward. And I would like to also put on the screen also the next key questions, especially also to, of course, our GPP 2020 purchasing body partners. What are your challenges towards market engagement, sounding and analysis? What is your experiences so far at Concept, at Ministry of Finance, for instance, in UNDP Croatia, so in Croatia in general? What are the challenges that you see? Any opinion on this, Matthias or Giuseppina, Admir? To speak up, you need to unmute your microphone.
Can I ask a specific question?
Gaynor.
Yeah, can I ask a specific question? I was just wondering, very often people have said that they perceive that there's a legal problem with market engagement. I just wondered if that was a common experience.
Okay, maybe also to Admir, Matthias and Giuseppina, or anyone else who would be happy to answer the questions. What is the challenge in perfect terms and legal terms? Who is there? Giuseppina. Giuseppina from Concept. Can you hear me? You want to raise a question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Yes,
so the question is challenges.
Yeah, that it's very clear, your discussion, and I think I want to think about it a little bit too, and then I can send my reflection. Yeah, because it's a new argument for me. This one.
It was interesting. I was speaking to a colleague from Italy yesterday, and she was saying that there is often a concern in Italy about using outcome-based requirements. Is that your experience? That they weren't allowed to use outcome-based requirements?
So that means, just for maybe not everyone so familiar with outcome-based requirements, is in comparison to say, I want this and that, you just define a certain need or certain performance.
Yeah, for example, with the Erasmus project, they said, we would like a sustainable bed washing facility to clean 70,000 beds a year. That was their specification.
Giuseppina, do you happen to have the same problem, that concept is not using performance or outcome-based specifications?
No, we use a lot. Maybe it's an old way to sound the market. I think just this is the problem. I think we can have a new way to sound the market, and I think we don't have problems with engagement and analysis, but a new way to ask, yes. Something to more not so I can say it's not so easy, no? Sometimes to understand all the questions we need, all the answers we need. So maybe the market is specific market is okay, but some services market or something like that, it's still a problem.
For me, it's interesting, isn't it? We always imagine that market sounding is about getting a response from the market and hearing what the market has to say. For me, I have to say it's the most important thing of the market sounding is that you communicate your requirements clearly and let them know. You just put it out. You put it out into the air, into the ether, and let suppliers see it, absorb it, and it will change the way they think. Asking them to respond is useful, and because you see how many people are hearing you and how many people are interested, and you can ask them some very simple questions. But I would always keep the market sounding very easy, very simple. Don't ask too many questions, because it's mostly about letting them know about the requirements. And I know that's, well, probably controversial, but that's my experience.
So when you're talking about not too many questions, just give us an idea of what.
In the latest vending project, we've asked 6 questions.
Yeah. Okay.
And those questions are, let me try and remember. It was, what sort of organisation are you?
Yes.
What options do you think are currently available to help us to deliver this? What solutions could be available in the future, given the right market conditions? What are the barriers that you face in bringing low carbon solutions forward? And would a forward commitment to buy be useful? I think off the top of my head, I think they're the things we ask.
Yeah,
you can check. All you need to know, actually.
Check at the InnoCat website of the low carbon vending prior information notice, the details. Questions.
You can follow the link to the University of Sheffield website, and you'll see there the market sounding prospectus, the PIN, and the response form. So you've got some examples.
Good, great. Any further question or remark from anyone else on the challenges, on the legal aspects, on experiences in market engagement? Questions? Admir, you want to raise a question, so you're now online. You are now online. Don't mute yourself. Good.
Sorry, I wanted to unmute myself. So I just wanted to comment that we have a problem when we ask in a tender for newer technologies which are not so common on the Croatian market. Maybe in Europe, then we have a problem to engage the market to maybe to answer on the tenders. You know, we have don't have a big large market, and maybe just a few of quality sellers. You know.
Yeah. What type of products groups are you talking about?
Well, I want to say in lab technologies. You know, because that's something that's something that we're doing now, and I saw that in a lot of even in the coding example, they didn't have a lot of sellers that answered to the tender, and we're afraid that that will happen to us because in technical specifications we ask for a product that's maybe not available.
Yeah, exactly. You probably over-specified. So if you put in a too detailed, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you put in a too detailed specification, then people know they can't deliver it. They don't respond. But if you say, for example, we want to provide low carbon energy solutions, then you've got a much wider potential market at the market engagement stage.
Yeah, but if we want to be open, you know, to let anyone to answer the tender, we would like the LED technologies, you know, and they are common now in Europe, but not so common in Croatia, you know. And if we want to follow the example, we need more sellers, or even to acknowledge that these are the new technologies and that the public bodies want to use the newer technologies.
Yeah, we did. We had. Do you have framework agreements in Croatia?
Yeah, not at.
Okay. We had. There was one example, and this was quite a few years ago now. We were working with the purchasing organisation for the healthcare sector. So they did a lot of, they created big framework contracts where they would say the healthcare sector needs lighting technologies, and then bidders would come in, they would evaluate them, and they'd get onto the framework, and then the healthcare organisations could buy direct off the framework or could run mini competitions. But it meant that it was a much quicker process. So these frameworks are very useful. It also creates quite a lot of demand. But the reason I mention this is because we asked one of our first examples is that we asked the procuring body, it was called PASA, to put in a requirement for saying we would, at this stage, we'd also like to explore innovative and, for example, LED and organic LED lighting for the framework in the future. And then what happened, the market thought, I need to stay ahead of this, and they actually got a lot of responses back. So, I don't know, maybe depending on the size of your organization, you could have a more, you know, have a bigger group of buyers. But also, what language do you use when you're publishing your tenders?
I guess
Croatian, yeah. We, I mean, about the public bodies and not the UNDP, you know.
But I'm just wondering if you were to put out a tender in English or another, or German or French or whatever, you might get a broader response. Also, the other thing, and this is the other thing, is the careful use of something I didn't mention. The careful use of CPV codes, making sure that you've got a broad range of CPV codes that you're using.
Yeah, I have a hand from Manuela Likul.
Yes, hello everybody. I just wanted to respond on two questions that Admir said that he doesn't have the information. So I'm just giving you an answer. About the framework agreements, yes, we have framework agreements in our national public procurement law, and the public procurers actually don't use it as it can be used. That's first. And the second thing about the language that is used in the tenders. Yes, most of them are in English, and only a few public procurement entities use English. Maybe it's because there is a lack of knowledge, on English specific tenders that are procured. That's first. And the second thing that it's not so very much used, it's that in the national public procurement law there is a clause that if the value of the tender is above specific value, amount of euros, it must be also, kako se kaže na engleski objaviti, advertised in European intent.
So
so it's
the amount of the tender, so it has to be tendered out European-wide or nationwide. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So that's obligatory from the law, but there is no such term in the law. The value is less than that. That cannot be written in English and also advertised in other, I don't know, newspapers or tests or something similar, which gathers all the public procurement tenders, like online advertising portals or similar.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for this further information.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Philip, do you hear me now?
Alenka, yes, I can hear you. Yes, I think everyone can hear you now. So you had a question, Alenka.
Now it's okay?
Yes.
Because I'm really trying hard with my computer. So okay.
Everything's fine.
What did you say? Sorry, because I can't hear you if I want to speak.
I was not sure if you had a question or comment to make. Alenka from Slovenia.
Yes, I have. But
please go ahead.
Gaynor is no longer there, as I can see, right? Because I want to ask her a question. So,
Gaynor,
yeah,
Gaynor
here. Okay, please. Yes, because I would like to ask you something directly. Because what you presented is, as you also said, it's new, quite new and quite advanced, and it's very useful for probably some of the product groups or services or works. Probably doesn't work so well for those which are very mature on the market already.
No, it's true. You wouldn't use that approach for commodities. No.
Yeah. No. Okay. And then I would like to ask you the following, in particularly if you are in the very beginning of low carbon procurement activities in the country.
Yeah.
What would you propose would be the best solution if you want to see what exists? Not that you get engaged with the market, not yet, but partially you do, because you want to reach them somehow. What would be the best to reach them to see if such products do achieve a certain requirement that you would like to use later on in the tender? What would it be the best options? Is it still meeting? Is it questionnaire? Is it telephone survey? Or
I would say I don't know what the best method is, but I think that there are different ways you could try and see which works best, and I think that would be quite interesting. I would it depends also how much time you have. So I would be inclined to put out a general requirement as a PIN, for example, and just see what responses, as long as you're careful with the clarity of what you're asking for and also with the CPV codes. but I always have this feeling, as long as you're completely honest with the supply chain and actually just tell them exactly how it is. So, for example, you could say, if you were saying, look, we're trying to understand what is going on in terms of, let's use lighting technology again, but we are unaware of what's available on the market. We would therefore like suppliers to express their interest and tell us what products are available on the market, if that is what you want. But you'll get a lot of information back. You get a lot of brochures and links and websites back. But if that's what you want, that would be one way to do it. But always be completely honest. It's always, of course, very helpful in any interaction with the market if you can give them, it motivates them if they see why you're asking in the context of the procurement. So you could say, we're interested in understanding this because we want to buy or to change our lighting solutions in the future. So just be, again, just be very honest and very clear with them.
Would be possible also to use something to see if majority can have offers in certain levels?
Alenka, if I understood you correctly, you were asking for a questionnaire. Would
Yeah.
be a good method. Yes,
Yes.
definitely. I mean, Gaynor said also it's not so much on the methodology, but it's best to test it out also with your specific market. So yes, do it. Do a try. I mean, especially outside of a procurement scenario, you can try out things. Don't be shy.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Gaynor.
Thank you.
So thanks to you all for your questions and the rich discussion, and thanks again also to Gaynor for being here with us today at this GPP 2020 webinar, part 1 of market engagement, sounding and analysis. We have part 2 also upcoming, so a bit of promotion. It will take place on 16th of May, that's a Friday, 10 o'clock Berlin time zone, that is Central European Standard Time. And we will have there a colleague from the GPP 2020 Consortium talking about guidelines for market engagement, best practice of market engagement, and the results of specific cases and tips and tricks also from the Netherlands, with Rijkswaterstaat and the formerly NL agency, now RVO. Looking forward to see you at this webinar too. It leaves me to say thanks to all you that participated. This web meeting has been also recorded, so you will get all the presentation and the talks being sent to you. I wish you a lovely afternoon and keep in touch. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.